doubled in just 90 days. Our transaction coordinator right now has 46 escrows she's working on, and she's closed 40 transactions her first 5 weeks in the business. So, right, does that accelerate growth when you're dealing with 86 transactions in your first 60 days of work? I mean, that's what some of us might deal with over 3, 4, 5, or 10 years. So it's had a tremendous impact on all of us, myself included, on bonding us together and accelerating our growth and knowledge in real estate. It absolutely exposed areas of weakness that need improvement. And we'll talk a lot about that. Any moment of great growth is going to show weakness all over the place. And I don't think I would be doing a fair job for all of you today if I didn't show up and talk to you about the many, many breakdowns and struggles that we had along the way. Because I hope that by sharing those, when you go out and replicate this or make your own version of it, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel and make the same mistakes that we made. Because we made quite a few of them. And last but not least, which is what I'm just so excited about, is it elevated the norm of our business. Right? That database of 125 to 150 closings a year is phenomenal, but we have a whole new leg. Not even a leg, we have a whole new foundational building of our business that we've set up that will forever change the norm of our business, change my income, change my production, change my free time. So we're pretty excited about that. So how did we go out and go from 5 listings to being able to generate on average a listing a day? We went to my roots, which was my sphere. I did not do a good job the first 18 years of my career of staying in touch with my sphere. I was lazy. I nailed things to them. I had my group of super fun clients that I had built relationships with, which was like a dozen at most, that I'd stay in consistent contact with. Beyond that, I didn't do what we're supposed to do, which is call them up. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in the room that can agree, like, if you have a database, are you calling them consistently? Because I've been in so many rooms sitting in the seats you're in and heard, hey, call them, and I never did. And for me, that was the first place to get started in this, and we'll talk more about that. We did circle prospecting. And circle prospecting is where we would sell a home or list a home, and we'd call up all the neighbors. Completely outside of my wheelhouse. Actually terrifying. Like, terrifying. If I was afraid to call my own clients, I was really terrified to call the people I didn't know. We had tremendous results from that. Expired listing program. My first 3 months in the business back in 2006, I did expireds. I have not called an expired since 1996. So we called a lot of expireds, and we had the results off of that was unbelievable. And for the small group in this room that's going to be willing to call expireds after being here today, I'm so excited to share with you how we did it and the results that came out of it. Sign calls, phenomenal. As we saw our signs go up, we started getting so many come listings from the neighbors, and I'm excited to share with you guys what we did and how we made our phone ring off of the business we were generating. Gary Keller also says that success is sequential, not simultaneous. And what I think he means by that is that if we represent a buyer, they purchase a home from us, simultaneously, we're probably not going to get another piece of business directly just happening at the exact same time we're working with that buyer from that buyer. But if we represent a buyer, we do an outstanding job for them. We ask for their referrals throughout the entire transaction, which is a great time to ask, by the way, because what are they talking to their friends and family about? A house they're buying. So by law of nature, they're going to gravitate towards other people that are buying selling homes as well. If we post on Facebook, congratulations to the Smith family, they just purchased their first property, and we're able to get it for less than asking in this market, et cetera, et cetera. If we share it out all over the world, then our success becomes sequential. One piece of business will add more piece of business. Now if we have 2, sequentially that should add 3 and 4, and it goes. And that's what we saw with our sign calls. Is that as we started this quest and started getting business from all these other places, then people again started showing up to us that we didn't know and asking us to come list their homes, which was awesome. Door knocking. I love what we did with door knocking. I've also never door knocked in my career, ever, not once. Actually, that's not true. The year I got married, I don't know if I was focused on other things besides my business, but it was one of those years where I made some money and then made no money for a long period of time. And my in-laws had given us, which was not smart, but they gave us all the money for the wedding. By then it was really smart. They just gave us a big check and said, hey, here's yours, do what you want with it. The problem is we were 22 years old, we blew it all, and it was not on wedding stuff. So we were great. So 3-4 months before the wedding, I looked at my book of business, which was non-existent, and I knocked on one door that was expired. The guy started yelling at me that he would never hire me because I knocked on his door. I'm not much of a crier. A couple tears came out. I knocked my car. They really did. And I never door knocked again. Until 110 days ago. And we did the most amazing door knocking script. Is your guys' market, are you seeing multiple offers up here in Washington? Are you seeing buyers lose to multiple offers?
Yes.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about it in a bit, but I'm so excited on this one. What we did was, we would take, if I had a listing that got 3 offers, we will take the other 2 offers. And we'll black out the agent's name, we will black out the buyer's last name, and then we will go to all the surrounding homes in the neighborhood and say, I don't know if you saw my sign up a block away on that street, but we just got 3 offers on that property. These 2 buyers, I'll hold up the first 2 pages of the 2 offers that lost. These 2 buyers want to live in their neighborhood. Both of them offered above full price. Both of them lost out to a buyer that offered even more. Have you thought about selling? Because if so, I want to connect you guys. Do you know how many listings we got off of that? I think like 8 in 90 days. Yeah. And we didn't even start door knocking until day 50. Right? That was something that was added on later on. It was awesome. And we would do the same thing with our buyers as well. So if we had a buyer that lost out on a property with multiple offers, we would take their offer and we would say, hey, did you see that house that sold around the corner? We offered on that property $6,000 above full price and we lost. But my client really wants this neighborhood. Have you thought about selling? Here's their offer. Right? That I can tell you as a homeowner, if somebody knocked on my door with 2 offers in hand above full price for my neighbor's home, I'm not slamming the door on them. This is not the typical door knocking conversation. This is my home. Whether I'm thinking about selling or not, I'm extremely intrigued to learn more. Right? We didn't always directly get the listing from that person, but they sure as heck knew that Jimmy down the street worked for Nike, who was just transferred to San Diego, and that they were going to sell and told us we need to go and talk to Jimmy and his wife, who's their best friend, that their bond is moving away. Like, it was so incredibly powerful and so incredibly easy, and a direct result of this market that we didn't have for the last 6-7 years. So that was pretty cool, door knocking. And then social media, I talked a little bit about, we're going to talk a lot more about how we incorporated social media. One of my admin staff who got behind this and had complete support, listing a home a day for 90 days, she did something her second day of being licensed, because I got her licensed so she could just help with day-to-day operations, talk to other agents, turn in paperwork and things. She did something I've never seen anyone do before, and we listed 6 homes from it. And I'll share that with you in a minute. So the first thing we started out was the Sphere. We called our database. We literally went through my database that I had called in the previous 18 years, and one by one, we called them up and said hello. At first, I'll admit I was terrified. I was literally like going in the MLS, seeing if they sold, because I had to call one. A couple had, which really motivated me more. Some of them, there was a couple, I remember my first couple days, there was 2 or 3 that had literally listed and gone pending the week before. It's like, really? Yeah. So we went through, I didn't really have an exciting script for the Sphere. I just simply called up and said, hey, it's Craig. Haven't talked to you in a while. Just checking on you. How's life? How are your kids? And we just really reconnected with conversations. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable how much business we got just from saying hello to people that we had spent 30, 40, 50, 70, 80, 90 hours in the car with, showing them homes that we'd send mails and emails to but hadn't connected with for 2, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and just said hello. I called up a guy named Reginald Lee, and Reginald was not a fun client whatsoever. And when I hit his name, I literally was about to hit delete, just get him out of the database. I didn't even want to deal with him. And I said, you know what? No, you've committed to this. You are going to do everything you can to list a home a day. Call Reginald, dial the number. And I said, hey, how's it going? He goes, I'm stressed out. I said, well, let's go. He goes, well, I'm refinancing, and it's been 2.5 months and nothing's happening. It's like, well, who are you using? Just knowing he would say, BofA or Wells Fargo or something. Do you guys have those issues up here? We do too. And I said, okay, well, let me give you a couple people that I work with. They're outstanding, and I've had a much better experience. Cool. Hey, maybe needs to buy or sell, think of me. Okay, thanks. 4 days later, I get a call from Kate, his wife. Actually, it was an email, like 7 in the morning. said, hey Craig, my boss is in town, and he wants to buy property. Kate Coughlin? I'm thinking yes. So I called Kate. It turns out that Kate is the HR director for Yakima Bike Racks, and Yakima was just recently purchased by a guy named CS from China. And CS was tired of flying here and living in hotels, so CS wanted to come out and buy a property because he would come out once every other month just to check on his new company and get it back on track. And he bought a $2 million condo from me that day. Yeah, $2 million condo. Because I called Reginald. Awesome. So Sphere was working pretty well. Now, that didn't directly result in our 90 and 90, yet remember the whole purpose of this exercise was to get listings that would get us buyers, that would support my whole company, that would support my team, that would keep me in a position where I could pay my admin, pay my bills, etc. So we had so much benefits that came from it, above and beyond actually listing 90 homes in 90 days. We had face-to-face meetings. I had a new team member, and I wanted them to meet one of my go-to lenders. And I met with her, and my team member would come from property management, and he just mentioned during the lunch that, hey, did you know in Portland we're at a 1% vacancy rate? It's like, really? 99%? 99 of every rental properties are rented? 99 out of 100? He said, yeah. He was just sharing this with the lenders, just side talk from his old career prior to joining my team 7 days before. She goes, well, I've got 2 duplexes I want to sell. She goes, does that mean values have gone up? It's like, yeah, I would guess so. The next day I listed both of her duplexes. Right, so face-to-face meeting with our Sphere and our allied resources. That was my aha. It was like a week into the 90 and 90. I started scheduling 3 or 4 face-to-face meetings with old clients or allied resources, specifically talking to them about the challenge that we started on, and asking for their support along the way, referring his business to help us accomplish the goal. It's amazing when you get involved in something, how many people will reach out to support you to help you hit it, if you start sharing with all of them what you're doing. And that's what we really started seeing from our Sphere, which was pretty awesome. And in social media, I know some of us are Facebook friends in here. There was a lot of posts about what we're doing over those 100 days. There was a whole lot. And so that really kept it in front of the folks that we lost contact with, and phone numbers have changed, email addresses changed, but we could still look them up, friend them on Facebook, and they could see what we're doing. And it translated to be a tremendous amount of business. This was the post from my admin who got licensed. Anyone curious about your home value? I'm practicing doing comps and can check it out for you. She did that on her own without me asking. There's 20 comments. Leanne Erickson closed last week. Carrie Twigger's under contract. I'm practicing doing CMAs. Does anybody want to know their home's value? From an admin person. Are you kidding? 20 responses, 6 listings taken, I think 4 already sold or under contract. Is that not just incredibly simple? I think we often just outthink what we're doing. And she was dead serious too. I was like, look, for us to keep up with this, I need for you to really get good at CMAs. So on her own, she posted on Facebook, and we ended up getting 6 pieces of business out of it. Unbelievably simple. I love the bottom part. Like, it's just rolling. So this was on, can I read that up there? May 22nd. So this was 22 days on our challenge. And so here's Emily at the bottom. Awesome, guys. I'll check into everything and let you know. Well, let me know turned into 6 listings for us. Just by simply putting out there to the world, hey, I'm practicing value. Do you want to know what your house is worth? Very cool. Can we all do that? Right? But we choose not to, or forget to, or whatever. It was funny, if you were friends with my team on Facebook, or my wife, or anybody else, like within a week, all of us posted this. It was the most brilliant thing I posted. Everybody did. It was pretty cool. We did. I'm giving Emily credit and put her up here in the PowerPoint. So the question was, off of our subsequent team posted the exact same. Like one person tried to outthink it, posted different. I was like, no. Don't change it. That worked. Do it exactly like that. Did we get more business off of it? Yeah, absolutely. I give Emily all the credit. Nobody did as well as she did on it, but we did get listings from every single one of them. And who wouldn't like to do that? Just post literally, 12, 14 words on Facebook and get 2 or 3 listings out of it. That simple. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Circle prospecting. How many people in the room, I show my hands, know what circle prospecting is? Circle prospecting is calling around your current business. It's just that simple. It was completely terrifying. I personally hated it for the first week. But we recognized that to hit a goal of listing a day, again, after averaging 5 a day for the first 4 months of the year, we're going to have to get way outside of our comfort zone. So my team, who also had never cold called, because why would they? Because if their leader didn't, they're certainly not going to, is we started doing script practice. So my coach told me a story of a guy named Jeff Quinton, who's not KW, but he's an agent that my coach coaches with out of New Jersey. And Jeff had a team that did do cold calling, and they were averaging about 110 contacts made. They'd get one piece of business off of it. And then they started doing script practice every day for a half hour. So as a team, they would come in, they would practice their scripts, and for a half hour they would do them. Within 4 months, out of every 24 people they connected with on the phone, they got one piece of closed business. They went from over 100 to mid-20s in just a few months of a half-hour practice a day. So my team and I started Tuesday through Friday. Mondays we didn't do script practice, and we still don't. We took it off just to kind of catch up from the weekend. And Tuesday through Friday, our schedule is every morning, 8 to 8:30, we come in as a group, and we script practice. So I've got some scripts I'll share with you today. They're not really shattering. They clearly worked. And we would just sit down and go over those scripts together. From 8:30 to 9, bless you, we would catch up on our day, whatever we needed to get situated. And from 9 to 11, religiously, without hesitation, without deviating, every single time we lead generated, every single day. There was a guy on my team a couple weeks ago. I think actually it was right after the 90-90, and he left his keys at his friend's house. I have a feeling he might have been drinking, because I don't know. But he left his keys in one place, which was great for him for not driving. So the next day, he had to have somebody escort him back to his friend's house, get his keys, get to his car. He was 2 hours late. He came in without talking, without saying a word, came in about 2.5 hours late that day, sat down, put his headphones on, and started calling people. Because he didn't get his lead gen in from 9 to 11, but we created such a culture and such habits over those 90 days that he felt, hey, I'm not going to be part of the team unless I do my activity, and mine's just going to have to start a little bit later today because of my situation. That all came from that script practice and from the circle prospecting, which is essentially what my buyers team did. So every single morning, they would literally come into the office. We would do that script practice as a group, and it was pretty fun along the way because at first we're all stumbling. And as we went down the road, the practice partner became more and more aggressive and gave more and more objection to the agent making the phone call because we got really good at it. Right? When you're lead generating for 2 hours a day and practicing for a half-hour day, after 3-4 weeks, there's basically nothing that you haven't heard. So you get to a point that no matter what is thrown at you, you're comfortable handling it back. So we went from being completely terrible at this to being unbelievably great at it. And we'll go over that script in a second. So we call up neighbors and say, hey, we just listed your house. This is Craig Rieger with Keller Williams Realty. You might have noticed that my sign just went up. Just call them to see if you know anybody in the neighborhood thinking about buying or selling that home. And they would typically say no, or yeah, I saw the sign. And I'd say, have you thought about selling? The market's really hot right now. In fact, in your neighborhood, we've seen about 15% appreciation in the last 12 months. And that always piqued their attention. We always use, do you guys have a TMO report you use up here in Washington? What's that? Stats. So we would just use our market stats. We use TMO, it's a total market overview. We pay for it, and it tells us exactly what's going in each neighborhood or each area of Portland. And it gives us that stat, and we literally just read off that stat for the house that we're calling around. And we give that quote to all the neighbors, hey, your market's up 12% or 15%, or your days on market is 1.6. We just try and give them 1 or 2 stats without being stat crazy so that they would keep talking to us, or at least get piqued by it. We would then call up the same folks again after we sold the property, which was kind of fun because sometimes it was like 1 day apart. Like, hey, I know I called you yesterday. We had 4 offers on that property. Do you know of anybody else thinking to buy or sell? Because we had 5 offers on the home, which means 4 people immediately want your neighborhood. I saw all offers, all 4 pre-approved. Do you know of anybody? Did you think of anyone after we hung up yesterday that's thought about buying or selling? It was awesome. No, we'd call immediately. Immediately, or depending on what else was on our list, but within a couple of days for sure. So we started by getting our phone numbers from the local title company. Do You guys have that here where you call your title friend and they'll give you phone numbers to the nearest neighbors? So are your title companies like mine, where you'd ask for the nearest 100 phone numbers and you ended up being 6 miles away? Right? For any of you that have done cold calling, I found that when I asked my title company for help, for phone numbers, for properties right around, I'd either get 2 or 3 phone numbers, or if I demanded 100 minimum, it would literally be 5 miles away. That kind of messed up my script when I was like, hi, this is Craig from Keller Williams. Did you see my sold sign 5 miles away? We just sold their home. So immediately I figured out something's got to give. And I heard about Mojo Power Dialer. Is anybody in the room using Mojo? Show of hands. I see some heads nodding. A couple? Cool. Well, this was my game changer. Is we were hand dialing every single person. We're getting a lot of disconnected numbers, and it really was not going too well. So we heard about this Mojo Power Dialer about week 3 into our challenge. And my team had been awesome. They were consistently showing up every day at 8 a.m. and doing script practice. And then they would do their own business 8:30 to 9, and then 9 to 11 without hesitation. They did something we've never done before, which is cold call, all for 2 hours straight. I mean, we'd take some breaks for energy, but essentially they would cold call, yet we're calling disconnected numbers, bad numbers, old numbers. It was a nightmare. So we ended up purchasing this Mojo Dialer. And on Mojo Dialer, you can paint in, you can literally type in your address. In my case, 1230 Southwest 113th Place. And then you can just paint around it. Like literally just click your mouse and it will give you all the homes right around it. So we really were able to be specific to who we're calling. And I don't know how Mojo does it, but they give us tax record phone numbers, they give us cell phone numbers on record from when you take credit applications. We had work numbers, we had next of kin numbers. We had, I'm not kidding, we had literally every number you could possibly imagine, it would give us. And then it would plug all of those into Mojo Dialer. And here's what was insane, and also a completely giant limiting belief that people are going to freak out on me, is it called 3 people at once. So we would find an address, we would paint a circle around it, and then we would hit dial. And it all broke loose. Like literally you're looking at the screen, it's calling 3 homeowners at once, 1, 2, 3 homes in a row. And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And somebody would answer. And what's cool is, right, all the disconnected numbers, all the bad numbers, it's just going through them. So it's flying through. We got to a point where on average, we were calling 600 to 700 people a day. 600 to 700 dials, of which about 150 to 200 were real numbers, of which about 75 to 125 would pick up and talk to us. Right, so if you got on average 100 people a day, and we got up to 5 people cold calling, we were making 500 contacts per day, asking people, hey, we just sold your neighbor's house, or we just listed your neighbor's house if you thought about selling. What do you think we got? We got a lot of people yelling at us. Let's call it like it is. Right? Forget you, don't ever call me again. The best was the callbacks. Like after our cold call session every day, for like 30 minutes straight, our phone would call. Hi, I had a call from this number, like thinking it's a long lost friend. And when we explained who we were, they were just furious. Like it became a game as our phone rang from 11 to 11:30. It was just people calling and yelling at us. But we'd set 6 listings appointments during those 2 hours. When you set 6 face-to-face listing appointments, do you care a whole lot if 3 or 4 people call and make fun of you or yell at you? Not so much. Your skin gets a little bit thicker. Mine did. Yeah. It really did. So on the Power Dialer, and anybody just Google Mojo Sells if you're interested in this, is on the Power Dialer, if 2 people picked up at the exact same time, which unfortunately happened all the time, then one person would get an automated voicemail that I created and said, hey, this is Craig with Keller Williams. I was calling to ask you a question. I'm so sorry, right as you picked up, somebody else had called in. I'll call you back in a couple minutes. So they're getting this voicemail as I'm going through the script with somebody live. As soon as that person hangs up on me or we finish the conversation, whatever happens, it stops dialing everybody else and it calls that person back. And it's terrifying because it says calling back Sue, which we all knew meant, oh gosh, you just heard the message. It wasn't that bad. We only had a couple of people get mad. I thought they would be really unhappy by hearing that message, but most weren't. So we did have that as our first message. And the second one is if it picked up and it was an answering machine, then we could drop a message as well. So that message would say, hey, this is Craig Rieger with Keller Williams. I'm sorry that I missed you. I'm calling because I just listed your neighbor's house a couple blocks away on 123 Main. We've got several buyers that made offers. If you or anyone you know in the neighborhood has thought about selling, please call me back. And we probably listed another 7 or 8 homes just off dropping that message from people that called back. I had a question in the back, the middle, right here. Right. We just dialed. And we just dialed 2,500 people a day for 90 days straight. We definitely, I mean, we had people say I'm on the do not call list, right? There is a way to filter, by the way, in Mojo. So I'm just coming up here and sharing with you what I did. And you can filter out the do not call list. We chose not to. And literally for every 300-400 people, one would get upset about the do not call list. But what I can say, if you treat it with compassion and kindness, like, I'm so sorry, I will immediately remove you, I promise you, you'll never hear from me or my company again. They're like, oh, okay, like it totally defuses them. We never had anything escalate past, oh, really, you'll take me right off, thank you. Yeah, so, and we would though, we would go in and take them off forever. At the end of it, I think we ended up calling like some 120,000 people in 90 days. It's funny, when you paint in the neighborhood we would around our just listed and just solds, it makes a little yellow mark. And when you expand out on the map and put the whole US in, you can like see our yellow mark in space from all the people that we called. It's pretty cool. We're actually doing the math on it, and we're figuring that probably by March, because we're not stopping, we were figuring that by March we'll call through the whole 1 million people in Portland, Oregon. Yeah. Yeah, why? Because we're getting 3-4 listing appointments a day off of it. So that was really the first thing we invested in with the power dialer. And what a game changer it was from dialing a number, ring, answering machine, to dialing 3 at once. It changed absolutely everything for us. The next thing we did, which was scary at the time, because mind you, we're like day 15, 16 into this, we're not really seeing the results yet, is I purchased my whole team headsets. They're like $250 each. Right, I had 5 people. That was a big investment for me. But they had proven to me that they would show up every day and do their script practice. And they had proven to me that they'd show up every day after their script practice and lead generate and cold call people from 9 to 11. So I started investing back in them with the power dialer and the headphones. So this was a picture of my team with their headsets on, and we were all in there lead generating. And this was a post I put on Facebook on June 22nd, loving my team. This day we did what we call a power day, because we clearly must have been behind on our goal at this point, so we go in and do extra work to get caught back up. And it said combine 25 hours of lead gen. So at this point we had 5, there's 4 of them, and I was the 5th, taking the pictures. Combined 25 hours of lead generation today, 5 listings appointments set, literally set just from that day, and 25 more families to follow up with. What that meant is 25 people had said, hey, I think I'm interested. I'm traveling, I want to talk to my husband, my wife, whatever. But that was just from that day. 5 set and 25 more we have to follow up with. And of those, we probably have another 5 or 10 that we ended up listing, or at least having listing opportunities with, just from that one day. And what was cool is we're again using social media. So this was very strategic. We're getting this message out to our sphere of what we're doing. Right? And all they see is people with headsets at an office working. And that's not a bad message for our sphere, past clients, family, and friends to see about us as realtors. It trickled down. We got more business from it. You can't barely see it here, but this is a gong. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. I wanted a really, really big gong, but they're like $600, and my wife wouldn't let me buy one. So I got that little tiny gong. And we had to create a lot of energy, because I'll tell you, lead generating for 2 hours a day is not terribly exciting. It's just not. So we got to a point where any time that something good happened, or we got a lead, or a prospect, or a listing appointment, I think we took 8 listings over the phone, sight unseen. Right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called, but I'm in Florida, my renter just moved out. Hey, can you list that for me now? It's like, yeah, we can do that. Over the phone, we'll send you contracts right now via DocuSign. We would bang the gong. And there was days where that gong was being banged 20 or 30 times in those 2 hours. Just anything good that happened, it just created a lot of energy and a lot of excitement for my team. So the circle prospecting script is this is Craig Rieger with Keller Williams Realty. And I'm calling because I'm working with some buyers who are looking, this is one of our scripts for our buyers that were homeless. But what are we really looking for? We're looking for listings, right? This is Craig Rieger with Keller Williams Realty. And I'm calling because I'm working with some buyers who are looking to buy in your neighborhood. As you probably know, virtually everything on the market is already sold. Is that what you guys are sensing here? Is everything just going on and going off quickly? And most importantly, we're at like 2 months of inventory. Some neighborhoods are at 1.5 months. And trust me, the homeowners know that. At least they sense it. So I promised my buyers, which we did, I'd call around the neighborhood. Do you have any friends or neighbors who thought about selling? Most of them said no. That was all right. You know, have you thought about moving in today's hot market? Most of you said no. And the last question is, you know, thank you for thinking about that. Have you considered investing in real estate while we're at historically low interest rates and home values are way below the peak? And we picked up a handful of investors just from that third one. So we figured we'd call. We're not going to just say, if you thought about selling, they say no and hang up. You know, we'd go 2 or 3 times. And it was really interesting on the second or third one, how many people came around. I thought about, you know, what for some of you raise your hand, you've been through Bold, is at Bold, you know, it's like I go to Nordstrom's and the salesperson comes up and says, can I help you? My immediate reaction is no. I don't know why, it's in my DNA to say no to her. But 6 minutes later, I'm looking for my size, I can't find it, and I'm looking for help, right? So as we hit script or the second and third question, you get past that initial no, and you'd be amazed at how many guesses you get. Anybody that wants any of the scripts today, please feel free to email info@craigrieger.com. That's info at Craig, CRAIGREGER.com. And we can send you any of the scripts that we're currently using. Our next thing was expireds. And if there was one single thing that we completely killed it on, it was expired listings. Just crushed it. But again, I had tons of limiting beliefs. I was terrified to call expireds. There's so much competition. Only right in a market where everything's super hot, only the lousy homes are expired. I don't want those. Only the people that are mean didn't lower their price. I definitely don't want to call them. But I also knew that as productive as circle prospecting was, and by the way, that was awesome. There was zero, and I mean zero competition. And if you're calling 2,000 to 2,500 people a day, or if you're a single agent calling 200 to 300 people a day, which with the power dialer you can do in 1 hour, you're going to find at least 1 or 2 people a day that are 30 days away from selling. You are. So, but it was not enough to help me list a home a day, especially coming from 5 listings a month before the challenge. So I decided expireds was the next thing that we had to tackle, and we have seen tremendous appreciation in our marketplace. You know, 2007, July is when our market crashed, and the lights seemed to start coming back on in February of 2012. That meant I had 5.5, 6 years of people that tried to sell their home in the worst of worst times. And I figured, these are the people I need to talk to. And it was another easy aha. I had a client who I had their home on the market in 2009. They called me up a couple weeks in the challenge. Said, hey Craig, you tried to sell my house a few years ago. You were cool and let me take it off the market because I wouldn't reduce my price anymore. My neighbor's house just sold in like 1 second. What's my house worth today? It's like, oh my gosh, there's probably thousands of these people sitting out there that aren't calling me. I need to tell them what's going on, right? So what we did is we went into our RLS and we pulled every single expired from July of 2007 through, I think, June of 2011. Literally every expired in the markets that we work in. Because I really didn't want to drive that far. I figured, hey, if I'm going to call people, I might as well do it in my own backyard. And we called all of those expireds. And then I bought my next program, which was called RedX. Is anyone in the room familiar with RedX? Okay. So cool, this is all kind of new stuff for you guys. It's certainly new for me as well. RedX is a program that when you dump listings into it that have been expired or canceled or whatever happens here in your marketplace, it will sort through those listings and it will tell you which of those people have sold since it expired or canceled. So it will kick all of them out. It will also sort through and it will tell you if there's any homes on the market. It will kick those out as well. So at the end of it, you've got a group of the 6, 7, or 8,000 expired listings we found over those 5.5 years. And it just gave us the group that truly had expired, that were not currently on the market, that have not sold in the last 5 or 6 years. Then we dumped them into the Mojo program. And what does Mojo do? Mojo calls 3 at a time, but even before that, Mojo's pretty cool because Mojo gives us tax numbers, gives us cell phone numbers, it gives us work numbers, and it gives us next of kin numbers. So we've got literally on some of the contacts 3, 4, 5 different numbers to reach them at. There was times that Mojo was dialing them, and it was dialing their cell or home in the office all at the same time. I'm not kidding. Like I had times where it was playing the callback message for the husband in the kitchen. I was talking to the wife in the living room. Like it was crazy. But essentially what we did is we called off all these expireds that it was the most fun that I've had in years. And mind you, I'm the guy that's never cold called or prospect in my life. Because I got to call people up and say, hey Nancy, it's Craig Rieger with Keller Williams. Your house was on the market back in 2008 for $310,000 and you didn't get any offers, right? She'd say, yeah. And I'd say, I've got great news, I think I can get you $350 today. Did Nancy love that phone call? She loved it. And a lot of times it's like, hey, our lifestyles change, our situations change, we don't want to sell anymore. That's cool. But I was delivering absolutely great news to every single person that answered the phone. So our script on that one, and I should be pretty good at this one because it's really the one that I did, is, hey, this is Craig Rieger, I'm with Keller Williams Realty. Is this Jim? Because with the Mojo dialer, I didn't always get the right contact. So I just confirm I'm talking to Jim. They'd say yes. I'd say, hey Jim, I'm calling about the house you're on the market way back in 2008. Did that home ever sell? And I'd always kind of accentuate because for some of them they forgot they were going to sell 5 or 6 years ago. Hey Jim, this is Craig Rieger with Keller Williams Realty, and I'm talking about the house you were selling way back in 2008. Did you ever sell that home? And Jim would say, no. I get it, Jim. Most people didn't. The market was pretty bad then. You know what? The market is completely taken off. In fact, we're finding that most of the people that we're working with are able to sell for more money than you tried to get in 2008. Are you thinking about selling now that the market's improved so much? Yeah. So many of them said yes. So many. A lot of them were skeptical, and so we would do what I call at the bottom here, the over-the-phone pricing again. And I'd say, Jim, let me start here, okay? I don't need to see your home. I mean, I must have said this script, I'm not kidding, 1,000 times in the last 100 days. Jim, I don't need to see your home. There's no obligations, there's no strings. I've got all the pictures from when you're on the market in 2008. I've got the full multiple listing. Let me run a quick market analysis just based on those pictures and your address and your square footage that are all right here in front of me. And I'll give you a call back in about 20 minutes and let you know what the value is today. It won't be an exact price, but at least it will give us a place to start. What would Jim say to that? Yeah, every time. And I'd say, hey Jim, while I'm at it, why don't I email you the results so you've got those as well? Would that be okay? And Jim would say, so what did I get from Jim? Yeah, I got an okay to call him back with a price opinion, and now I've got his email for life to dump in my database. I mean, understand, right, that this challenge that I took on, without exaggeration, will probably make me 30, 40, 50 million true money into my team's bank account over the next 5 years from what we started doing. Because, right, not every Jim was ready to sell at that moment, but now he's on my, what's my best thing, my database. That's where my base and foundation is from. Now I've got Jim's mailing address, his email address, his contact info, and I can drip on Jim for as many years as necessary, and someday Jim's going to call me and become what I've always got anyway, which is just come listening. Isn't that cool? It's really cool. So we would do that. My team actually got to a point, the other ones that were calling, where they would just hand me every single lead that came in, and I would stop my lead gen, and they gave me permission to do so. I would do a really quick market analysis, and we would find that about 7 out of 10 homes I could price without seeing it, just based on the pictures and knowing the neighborhoods as well as I do. And the ones I couldn't price, I was honest. I was like, I can't price your home. It's completely unique. It's really big in a neighborhood of not such big homes. You're a phenomenal view, and I can't take that into consideration without coming out. But 7 or 8 out of 10, I could give them a price over the phone. And from there, 2 or 3 would say, geez, do you want to come over tonight or tomorrow? Right? So they got really excited with the value that I was giving them. Really excited. Any questions on how that part worked? It was awesome. And it was just so incredibly easy and so completely different than what I initially thought, which is I'll call these people up. Yes?
Can you give your price can you just walk through quickly what your steps were to figure out the price? And I can do a pretty quick analysis, but still in 20 minutes, give a number. What was your process?
The question is how did I do the analysis so quickly? Well, the good news is I had to do about 400 or 500 of them in 90 days, so you get faster, right? Practice makes us fast at anything. The process would be is I'd print their multiple listing, and then I would pull up, our multiple listing has the Thomas Guide page. Does yours have that? Perfect. So I would just pull up their Thomas Guide page, and I pull up 5 years either direction of their year built, and 100 or 200 square feet either direction of their square footage. And I would search that, and I would just say, well, homes in this price range are selling 240 to 270. I mean, some of them took 30 seconds. And I'd call them back and say, hey, it's Craig. Homes in your neighborhood are selling between 240 and 270 in your square footage. It was that simple. Yeah. And if it failed there, I'd go to elementary school next. Right? Because that's a required search. It's a required input field in our multiple listing. You can't list a home without putting in the correct elementary school. And I love searching by elementary school because it's a big but small geographical area. And odds are they're probably familiar with most of the homes in their elementary school. And so that would be the next place I'd go. And if I couldn't get it by elementary school, that's what I'd call up and be honest with you. Like, I can't price your home over the phone. I don't know how serious you are about selling, but if you are serious, I'd like to come over for a no obligation meeting. So I would just be completely honest with them. Yes, ma'am?
We have better than that. We have an MLS. You push the MLS number to a mile search. Have a quarter of a mile. It's so easy. You don't even need a map.
And that would be super easy. So that's what I did in my more difficult and challenged MLS. I think off this script, we listed like 27 homes in 90 days. Yeah. Way back in 2008. Yes, sir?
Can you repeat that email to the script?
I'm sorry?
Can you repeat that email to the script?
Yeah, the email is info@CraigRieger, CraigReger.com. Awesome. And I promise for those of you that are completely freaking out about cold calling that are never going to do in your life, I'll give you some things very shortly that will help your businesses as well. But for that small group of you that say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give that a try. It's a big game changer. And this is a great script that there is, again, zero competition on. Zero. Right? These people went through that rush for you to expire, and they had people calling them up for, 30, 60 days, 1 day, 3 days. I'm calling them up 5, 6, 7 years later. Zero competition, ready to sell. It was awesome. Really awesome. So sticking with our one thing was the listings, right? So additional strategies, sold stickers. Let me ask you guys, in your marketplace, and I really would love some help with what you guys are doing here, is when you sell a home, do you use sold stickers or pending stickers? Sold? Okay, so you use sold after it goes through the inspection. Anybody else use pending? Okay, a few hands. Why do you guys use pending? Because it's not sold, right? Right. So it's not sold. It's pending until it closes. Anybody do anything different than that? Okay. So my thought is, for myself, one of the biggest mistakes I've made over the years is I think as a realtor, not as a consumer. Right? And the most success I have is when I start thinking like my neighbor instead of like realtor Craig. So I'll give you an example. I sell a home, and I wait a couple weeks because I want to get through inspections and I want to get through appraisals, and then I put up a pending sticker. What does my neighbor think? They think, oh, I saw Craig's sign go up. Or what does any neighbor think to that for sale sign? I saw a sign go up, I saw it 2-3 weeks go by, and I saw a pending sticker go up. And they think, well, that's okay. It doesn't seem like it's done yet, but good for the Smiths. It seems like they got an offer. Good for them. So let's go to the next level. So I sell a home, I get a contract at least, and I wait 2 or 3 weeks. I get through inspection, appraisal, and all that exciting stuff, and I feel this thing's done, right? And now I put up a big fat sold sticker. What do the neighbors think? Oh, what's that? Yeah, neighbors think good. Somebody's moving in. You know, good for them. They sold their house. Awesome. Congrats to the Smiths. That's cool. So let's go to the next step and say you sell a home, and 15 minutes later you go up and put a giant sold sticker up. The biggest one you can find, and I'm not exaggerating. Right? So imagine if you take off for work and you're like, oh my gosh, the Smiths are losing? I didn't know that. And in this market, if your market's anything like our market down in Portland, is it possible to sell a home in one day? Right? So by the time you come home from work, you come home, there's a giant sold sticker across the sign. Now what do you think? That's one way to say it. Yeah, you're like, holy moly. But now you're thinking, who is this guy? Who is that gal? How did they do that so quickly? Right? Why do we not put up sold stickers? Or why do we not put up pending stickers? We do it because we want more calls from whom? Right. And honestly, I would ask you guys, if I could give you a pre-approved, ready-to-go buyer that wants to buy in the next 30 days, or I can give you a listing in a medium to hot neighborhood at $250,000, which one would you take today? Right? So why are we marketing to buyers in a market like this? Honestly, I don't want any more buyers. They take a ton of time, and in our market, there's no homes for them to look at. I want the neighbors' listings. Right? So we went on a quest. We're literally, we did a team challenge that when we sold a property, we made it a game to get the sold sticker up, the biggest one we could find in 1 hour. 1 hour. It was a game changer. We literally started working our way through neighborhoods where we put up a sold sticker, and 4 days later, we'd have another listing. And 2 days after selling that one, we'd have another listing. And all of a sudden, we had an entire neighborhood, which I do no farming in whatsoever, of just off of sold stickers. You know, we did 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 GCI with $80,000, $90,000 of income in 2.5 weeks. Seriously. But right, the game changer is we didn't think like agents, saying, well, I'm not putting that sold sticker up until we get through inspection. No way. I want those buyer calls. We were impressing the neighbors because they were really the ones watching. Does that make sense? Is that a game changer? It's cool. I talked about this with some other agents. It doesn't matter what your volume is. It doesn't matter where you work. If you start slapping up the biggest sold stickers you can the second you get that property under contract, you will get more calls than you've ever had off neighbors than ever before. It is absolutely certain. So then there's a limiting belief of, well, I don't know, what's my seller going to think? Right? Anybody thinking that right now? A couple people? Yeah. Well, when you list and sell 90 homes in 90 days, be prepared for a couple of your sellers to call you up and say, you know what, it's not sold, Craig, it just got under contract. And so I came up with a script for that. I'd say, that's really cool, Gene, I get that, but don't we want our buyer to have confidence, right? They're going to be coming back in a few days for home inspection. They're going to bring their family and friends over. And in this market, we are seeing a lot of buyers remorse by getting the biggest sold sticker we can have on your sign, and every time they pull in your driveway, all they're thinking is, this is my home, I bought it. Isn't that what you want a buyer thinking? That's what I want a buyer thinking. I don't know or not, but I've worked with every seller that complained. So, yeah. Sold stickers were unbelievable. Did you guys use directionals in Washington?
Yeah.
So our rule became 10 directionals per listing. So if you have 90 listings, that's 900 directionals. What does the marketplace think about you? Right? Where in reality, we wasn't, because again, success is sequential, it's not simultaneous. So as we started our quest, getting a listing about every 6, 7, 8, 9 days, and we're on a course to generate a listing a day, and we put up 10 directionals per listing, all of a sudden, it didn't matter where people were coming from, what through routes they were using to go to school, work, church, wherever they go, they saw me absolutely everywhere. So 5 listings turned into 50 listings with 10 directionals. Right? Because my name was in actually 55 different spots. 5 listings plus 50 directionals. 9 turned into 99 listings. 99 places that people in the Portland market could see my name. Do you think that generated more phone calls? Devin?
Did you also stop and knock on the door and place directional and ask them if it's okay to put up the directional?
We did not. That's a great. So the question is, would we knock on the door if we're putting the directional and ask permission? No, we were on a mission. And we were just going out, putting up those directionals as quickly as possible, knowing full well that by the next morning, probably 3, 4, 5 of them were gone. But that's fine, because that meant we still had 1 sign up with 5 directionals hanging out for a month or so. It was awesome. Totally awesome, game changer. Our sign calls. This was pretty cool. I think it was day 2 into our challenge. One of my buyer's agents got a sign call. What do we do when we get a sign call from a buyer? We go and try and sell them the home, right? And then if we can't sell them the home, we try to pick them up as a buyer. My buyer's agent came back, and it was literally day 2 of the challenge, it was May 2nd, and said, Craig, I have a listing appointment for you. It's like, what? It's like, well, you announced 2 days ago that we got this 90-90 challenge, to get 90 listings in 90 days, so the only thing I talked to the buyer about was about listing his home. And he said, yeah, have Craig come over. It's pretty cool. So what a paradigm shift of everything that we focus on is to get listings. If we know that listings will be the foundation of all of the business that we can get. It was so simple, just like Emily's Facebook post, hey, I'm practicing pricing, who wants to know your home's value? It was so simple for a buyer's agent to go, they actually built a better relationship with that buyer by not trying to pick up their business as a buyer's agent, not trying to sell them their home, but focusing on what they really needed to do, which was getting their house sold. So it became that every sign call, our focus became getting a listing instead of picking up a buyer. Because if you can list their home, who are they going to buy a home from? When it sells, right? It was awesome. We talked about the door knocking with recent offers. I know a few people came in late, so I'll just quickly re-hit that one again. I don't think I'll ever stop doing that until the market shifts and I can. And again, that's where if we get multiple offers on our listing, 3, 4 offers, of course my seller will take the best of those offers, and we'll take page 1 of the other offers, we'll cross out the other agent's name, we'll cross out the buyer's last name. So basically what's left on there, my name, the buyer's first name and the price they offered, and the property address. And then we'll knock on all the doors in the neighborhood, and we'll literally say, hey, it's Craig Rieger, Keller Williams. I just sold that house right there. It had 5 offers. These 4 buyers lost on it. 3 of the 4 offered above full price. Have you thought about selling? It was awesome. It was just awesome. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we'll do the same thing for our buyers as well when they lose out on homes. Open houses became really, really, really productive for us. Which, honestly, anybody in the room experience, hey, I do opens, or if you have a team, they do opens, and you feel like you're more doing it just to appease the seller, right? When you've got 90 listings to pick from, which I've never had before, you're doing, I had an agent call me on my team yesterday, and it was like 45 minutes in the open, he actually texted me. He said, Craig, I've had 27 people through. That's the house that I want my team to hold open. That's the house that I want to hold open, right? But when you list a home a day, you don't have to hold open that one home that you've had on the market forever that nobody's coming through. You get to pick the best home in the best subdivision at the best price, with the best schools, with the best commutes, the best businesses, and everybody comes to your open. At the end of the open, you picked up 5 or 6 clients and potentially written 1 or 2 offers. It was awesome. Oh, and by the way, now there's 6 open signs and 10 directionals, and because of our circle prospecting, we have 3 other homes in the neighborhood. Now we own the neighborhood. We literally took it over in 45 or 60 days, and they're excited to talk to us about buying a home through us or selling a home through us. Just completely transformed our business. It's pretty awesome. And then, of course, aggressively follow up. We got to a point where we were generating so much business that we had to actually spend more time with lead follow-up in the circle prospecting, which was awesome. So why don't we take a 10-minute break, and then we'll get back together in about 40 minutes. Thanks.